For the folks on the call already, thanks for joining the call. This presentation is being recorded. I'd ask that you all put your microphones on mute for the presentation so we can minimize the amount of feedback we might get. And then we'll open it up to questions at the end of the presentation. Give it a few more minutes before we start. Okay, why don't we get started? So, David, I'm going to let you do the introductions. David Gray, the Nantucket Sewer Director. So, David, you're on mute right now. So,
good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us tonight. This is just to bring you guys an update on how the project has been moving along and what step we're at now. This is specifically going to focus on Lily Street as we continue to move along. And with that, I can turn that over to Frank Ayotte, who is our owner's project owner's project manager of the project, and then Ziad Carey from EPG will be taking the lead on the rest of the presentation as we go along.
okay, thanks, David. For everybody on the call today, thanks for joining us. Tonight's presentation is going to go over some material you may have seen in the past, some may not, but a project description and the need for the project, why we started all this. We're going to go over the force main alignment, and that was chosen out of several alternatives, and why we did that. We're also going to go over the geotechnical instrumentation and monitoring that we've installed along the route. And this is to monitor vibrations and any potential movements of the earth adjacent to properties where we're installing the utilities. We're also going to have a section of the presentation on what to expect during construction along the roadway, what you'll expect to see, as well as a construction schedule on where we are, when we're starting and when we plan to finish for this construction season, which is anticipated to go through June. Following the presentation will be the project team that's online here today, myself, David, Ziad, will answer questions that you may have. Okay. All right, just a little bit about the project description and need. So the scope of this project was to basically design a third force main from the C Street pump station, which is on C Street, all the way to the Surfside wastewater treatment plant, which is approximately 3.4 miles. There are currently two force mains right now that are installed from this pump station to the treatment plant. And those two pump stations are, pipelines are approximately 35 years old. So there is a significant need to get a new force main installed so we can take one of these out of service and retire it, the smaller one, which is the 16-inch, and be able to rehabilitate the inside of the 20-inch, which is the larger one, force main number 2. So we can put a liner in that and have that be able to operate, years and years and years into the future. So with that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Ziad Carey. Ziad is from Environmental Partners Group, and he is the project manager for the design of the third force main. So Ziad.
Thanks, everyone. Good evening. So here we'll talk about the force main alignment that Frank alluded to. Excuse me. This is the option that was chosen at the Board of Selectmen meeting based on alternative analyses, and the way we arrived to it. Basically, we're going from point A to point B, which is point A being the C Street pump station, and point B is the wastewater treatment plant. So we considered multiple routes along the way. And the one that kind of made sense the most, obviously, goes through from the C Street pump station through Step Lane. I'm sure a lot of you have seen the construction that kind of took place it's been taking place actually between C Street pump station and Center Street from September 12 until today, or September 19 until today. So the force main that's highlighted here in blue, this is the route. So it's about 226 on C Street, and it goes up Step Lane about 300, 400 feet about plus or minus on Center, and then 1200 on Lily Street, and then it goes on to Liberty Street for 800 and some odd feet, and then ends at the South Shore Road at the wastewater treatment plant for about a mile. So we started this project back in May of April 2022. We started at the South Shore Road. We worked from the treatment plant towards Surfside Road. And today, if you're up in that neighborhood, you'll probably see the equipment. We're about 2/3 of the way, maybe a little bit more on Surfside. So we accomplished almost about a mile of the installation of this force main on South Shore Road. And then at the same time, we started the downtown work at Step Lane, North Water and Step Lane on September 19. You saw today where we're at. We just completed the work between C Street and Center, and now we're going to focus on Lily. That's why we're having this conversation here today. So the reason that route was chosen because along the way, instead of digging the road multiple times, the town wanted to maximize on the effort, replace the aged utilities along the way, water mains, the gravity sewer, some drains that haven't really been functioning for years, upgrade those along the way. And again, that's part of the reason that alignment was chosen, just to maximize on the overall construction and replacing utilities along the way, and that kind of keep things dig once. Why have to dig 3 or 4 times along the way? So again, there's a lot of good advantages. This being one of the shortest route of the 3 alternatives that we looked into, but then also replaces age utilities and maximizes all the effort. There's some challenges along the way. We talked about it when maybe some of you have attended the public outreach that we conducted at the church back on September 12th. There's obviously a lot of challenges. You've probably seen it today, being local residents, and those challenges go from road closures to excavations within, between houses and driveway access and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of challenges. We're fully aware of this, and we're trying to minimize them as we move forward here. Excuse me. So this is a summary of what we looked into and what utilities are being replaced along the force main alignment. Lily Street happens to be full replacement. So basically we're going curb to curb We're replacing an old asbestos cement water main pipe that is overdue for replacement. We upgrading the gravity sewers, and that goes from the main within the roadway up to the property line where it connects to your existing service. And then also we are installing the sewer force main, which happens to be the deepest utility within the alignment, because again, it is a pressurized force main. It is vulnerable. That's why we put it further down below. So the excavation is expected to be a little bit deep as far as the force main is concerned. Water mains are usually about 5 feet below grade, and gravity sewer on Lily isn't that deep. So all those will be upgraded along the way. Same with the utilities. We also worked with the DPW. Now today, the stormwater is part of the sewer department is handling this. So the stormwater will be upgraded along the way. Also on Lily Street, there's some localized small structures will be upgraded to actual catch basins, and will be connecting um, structures, manholes to catch basins, and then outfalls will be replaced as well. So we talked about it once in at the church when we had the first public outreach. Geotechnical instrumentation is really nothing, but you probably seen them along your property. They consist of either nails or crack gauges, and the intent of these things is to monitor the movement, if anything, based on deep excavation and some vibration. We also have some vibration monitors that log the decibels and the noise as a result of vibration, and we get notified if these vibrations exceed the thresholds, the allowable thresholds. So all these devices are in place to protect you as homeowners and make sure that the contractor is not exceeding the allowable thresholds on any level. Those devices that they're small, you may not pay attention to them or anything, but they're installed on either decks, stairs, thresholds, doors going into a property, or any surface features that we thought would be worthwhile installing something on there to make sure that they're not moving or they're not vibrating during construction. In the project specification, we discussed about 100 of these gauges to be installed between the C Street pump station and then all the way up to Pine Street and Pleasant. Anything beyond that, we're away from the property lines, so the impact of vibration and deep excavation would be minimal to abutters and properties. You may have seen this on your property. So if there is an existing crack on the foundation, this would be installed along the crack to measure any movement, any potential movement, to make sure the crack is not widening along the way. Could be installed on a concrete wall, a brick wall, a stone wall, or anything of that nature. Even if you have a stairs or anything that connects the set of stairs to a foundation or a house or a threshold, this would be also, you would probably be able to see this installed along the way. And again, the PK nail is a Parker Kalin nail, which is installed to on features to make sure there's no vertical movement, so there's no depression, there's no settlement of any sort, and those are monitored on a regular basis by the contractor. We oversee them. We make sure there's no movement, or at a minimum, if there's a slight movement, it's not exceeding the allowable threshold. So if a movement is occurring, we watch that on a regular basis. The limiting threshold is about 1/4 of an inch, and a stop work, if there's any structure that moved more than 1/2 an inch or about 1/2 an inch plus or minus, we would stop the work and would come up with a plan to kind of mitigate that movement and make sure nothing is happening in the future as the work progresses. This is the PK nail, really nothing than a nail that's installed in a feature, and that nail is measured vertically and to make sure there's no movement. And you may have seen this somewhere in along the property. This is the extent of the geotechnical instrumentation installation from the C Street pump station all the way up through the residential neighborhood through Pine and Pleasant Street, and that's where it really stops. Summary of the locations where these things have been installed. So, for instance, on Lily Street, we installed. We went at two of these structures instruments on Lily, 5 Lily, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, all the way down to 29. So what to expect during construction? And the work, as a matter of fact, the contractor is going to mobilize. They just shut down. They just completed the work on C Street at the pump station, and they graded. Today they didn't work because of the weather, but they'll be mobilizing equipment on Monday, and they're going to be at the corner of Center and Lily Street. The first week, what to expect would be removal of sidewalk features like the brick pavers, the cobbles, flagstones, anything that would constitute the sidewalk that would be stacked, labeled, cataloged, and then stockpiled in a safe place where they, upon completion of construction, they would go back in the initial location at the same exact orientation as they were found. So the first couple of weeks will be the first week maybe there will be no excavation within the roadway, but it's just more of a removal of sidewalk, a stacking of granite curbing, and no sidewalk features. It will be a lot of questions, and we'll be happy to answer them towards the end of the presentation. But as a first thing is we trying to tackle Lily Street one half at a time. So we're probably going to just remove and demo the sidewalk and the roadway up to a point where we think we're going to be complete by the end of May. And based on this, the first 400 or 500 feet of Lily Street will be tackled starting on Monday. Lily Street will be closed to traffic, through traffic. If you're a local resident on Lily Street, you would be able to use Lily in the opposite direction. Let's say you lived on this side and then this road up here is closed. You should be able, with the assistance of the cops, the detail officers on the job, and the crew, to kind of go in the opposite direction to be able to access your property back and forth. There will be no parking on the sidewalk starting on Monday, and there's signs. We distributed notices on there this past week. There's a message board that's been running for almost 2 weeks. And again, the duration of the work and the complexity of the work or the progress of the work will depend on the complexity and what we're going to be finding as we start digging for the replacement of these utilities. If you have any issues, any complaint, I know we've been fielding complaints, not complaints, but the questions, and regarding the schedule and the progress of the work. We've been doing this all along. You guys have been calling the sewer department, and we've been returning your calls. And we have a log, an ongoing log. If we, when we get the message, we're trying to return a call within the same day. If not the same day, will be the following day. But any complaints or any issues that you may have, please direct them to the sewer department, and the sewer department will send them along to us, and we'll respond accordingly. So you probably saw this is a representation of what happened on Center Street. So the first step, if you see on the photo on the left side, first order of business, remove the sidewalk features. In this instance, we didn't really have to touch the sidewalk on this side. So removing the pavement, sidewalk features, doing the layout, getting into excavation. After that, you have a trench box, and the trench box is required for any excavation that exceeds 5 feet deep. This is OSHA requirement. And then we start the installation of the utilities. On Lily Street, the water main will be bypassed because the water main is going to need to be replaced. So you're going to have temporary water main. You'll see it on the sidewalk. And there will be a period where you may lose water for about an hour to transfer the services once the water main bypass has been established. So we'll give you enough notices on this. It's not going to happen next week, probably the week after, but we'll give you ample notice to let you know that there will be an interruption in the service, and maybe you could refrain from using the water for that 1 hour when the work is being done. So the order of business would be to do the water main bypass. And then once the water main bypass, we're going to focus on the installation and the replacement of the gravity sewer, the force main, and then the water main would be last. And once we complete with the 3 utilities, we're going to do the drainage along the way as well. And once that's all complete, this is what you're going to see: rough grading, fine grading, and then paving. This paving here that happened on Center Street is really only temporary paving, and the intent is for the temporary paving is to allow for the roadway to settle over a period of time. Once it's settled, we're going to come back at a later date, maybe a season later, to do full restoration work, right? The full restoration meaning sidewalk, granite curbing, sidewalk, and the final paving. So on the construction schedule, so we mobilize on Lily Street on 2/20/2023. Perfect world. We hope that we complete the work by Memorial Day, 5/31/2023. If we don't complete, we're only going to tackle as much as we could handle. So it'll be maybe the first half, and we'll see how that goes. If we have enough time between now and Memorial Day, we're going to tackle as much as we can. But we're only going to demo what we can handle, right? So we're not going to just rip up the whole road and then just leave it in that situation until Memorial Day. And then if everything goes well, best case scenario, we hope that we complete by end of May. By then, we could do the temporary paving and then shut it down for the summer. And then we continue in the fall on North Liberty all the way through Liberty, Winter, Pine, and so on and so forth in the fall of 2023. And final restoration is all dependent on how much settlement is going to happen. It could be really in the fall of 2023, or we could wait a full season and we could complete the final restoration in the spring of 2024. So with that, I'll stop sharing the presentation, and we would love to hear any questions that you may have.
It's Mary West. How are you going to deal with packages and mail for people? I'm one house in, so I'm going to be impacted immediately. So I'm just curious about my dog food that will be arriving.
So with the mail, anything like similar to what we did on Center Street, I think the mail was hand delivered. And if anything that requires additional attention between and anything, from our experience since September through now, the crew has been super accommodating. The detail officers have been great, trying to help people in and out of their driveways. I know I fielded a couple of calls about folks that needed some care, right? I mean, they need nurses to come into their homes. They need attention. So we're making arrangements for all of this. Again, the crew, they go out of their way to make sure that nobody is left unattended. And we'll make sure that happens. We do have, by the way, a boots on the ground, a resident engineer on the job that always looks out for residents, and they seek him out. They come in, talk to him, and then he'll make sure the arrangements are done.
Yeah, and that includes folks, trash removal. I know some of the inns had a trash service that needed to trash people needed to come in and pick up the garbage. So anything that you need, call the sewer department or reach out to any member of the construction team or crew, and we'll ensure that your mail and packages are delivered accordingly and you have the necessary access for services and care that you need.
Okay.
And that goes also for propane and heating oil deliveries. We've gone through these things on Center Street. We actually we had Center Street shut down for almost 2 months. It wasn't easy, but things always got done. There's no question.
Go ahead.
Do you anticipate Center Street? You said you only had to take curbing out on one side. What's the plan for Lily Street?
So that's a good question. Thank you for bringing this up. So basically, the less disturbance we face, the better off we're going to be. But unfortunately, on Lily Street, because of the extent of utilities and because of the width of the right of way, I think we're going to have to remove both sidewalks, both ends of the sidewalk. So if we feel like we could get away by just removing one side, this is what we'll do. But it seems like at this stage, it looks like both of them going to have to get removed.
Yeah, because of all three utilities and the storm drainage on top of it. So,
So is the plan then to go on, starting next week, to take all the curbing out from Center Street all the way down to Liberty Street? On both
not
sides.
not the entire reach. So, they're gonna do a portion of it at a time, so they don't over demolish, I guess, the entire roadway, because there's no guarantee based on progress between now and the end of May that we'll get all the way to Liberty Street.
So in the
there-
first, yeah, no, in the first part, how far up will you be going?
So Liberty Street is about 1,200 feet. We're going to tackle 400 feet first and see how that goes.
Okay.
If we feel like there is progress, of course, you're going to have to do a demo before you're doing any installation, right? So if we feel there is progress and we could tackle that 400 feet within a reasonable time frame, we're going to attempt to do maybe 200 next. And that's how we're going to have to do one stretch at a time.
Yeah,
That was 400 feet. Did I understand that correctly?
Plus
Yeah.
minus, yeah.
Thank you.
And so you know, we have features along there. So we have sewer manholes, gravity sewer manholes. We have structures on the force main. So we could only commit to a certain amount, right? We have to commit to where these structures end at a minimum, right? So it could be 400, 500 plus or minus. I mean, within that range.
yeah. One other thing I wanted to note is, prior to construction, the entire roadway and surface features adjacent to it were videotaped. Okay, so we could have an as-is kind of record of what things looked like. Also with that were still photos as well. There are some properties with flagstones that are assembled a certain way. So the detailed photos of that were taken, and when those are dismantled, they'll be numbered and cataloged, so we can put them back the same way that they were removed. So,
So on the street parking, if you're not within, for example, if you're not within the first 400 feet, you could park on the street. I have people who come every day, so they could park for an hour or so on the street.
Correct.
Is Center Street being used as a staging area for those of us that need to park? So we can park on Center Street?
So Center Street will not have any equipment and will not be shut down. Will be, if there is room to park on Center Street, yes, by all means. Now, if the work progresses from Center towards Lily, let's just say we finish the first 100 feet and then you lived on that first half or the first 100 feet between Center and on Lily, certainly we could make arrangements to access your driveway, to access your home.
Right, well, okay.
One concern I have with the parking on Lily Street will be that road's gonna be turned into two-way. So the parking is gonna have to be very limited on the entire length of Lily Street. Just due to the trucks and propane and everything else gonna be going back and forth. It will be turned to two-way as of Monday.
Yeah, I was gonna note that too. I don't know how we're gonna have on-street parking with two-way traffic. Since it's already narrow.
is there a possibility that some of those cars can park half on the sidewalk in some of those areas to maintain a good lane of traffic for those folks that really have a need, whether it be care or something like that? We'll have to discuss that. I'd like to discuss that, actually, Erica, David, Ziad, to see if that's practical or not. And I'm talking about the areas outside the construction zone, the immediate construction zone.
It depends. I mean, if we've got Yates Gas coming down there,
Hmm.
or Harbor Fuel coming down there, and you've got cars coming at you as they're coming down, it's gonna be tight.
Yeah.
I spoke with the lieutenant of the police department today, and he confirmed that on any parking on Lily Street was going to be extremely difficult.
Okay.
It goes the 2 ways. So.
Okay. So that said, Charlie, I see that you asked that question. Just making arrangements for whoever you had visiting. Possibly parking on Center Street and walking, or doing a delivery to drop things off and then parking outside of Lee. I don't know if that's practical for you, Charlie.
Yeah, it's possible, or perhaps they can park in another driveway. I mean, they're here for just a couple hours, so
Right.
it's not all day.
Would it be possible to use the land bank parking area as a parking place and then walk to your place through?
It could be, sure.
Because I know for Upper Lily Street, you could, if the land bank was willing to be cooperative and let us use that as a parking space, people could park there and walk. That's a shorter walk and an easier parking.
That's a good question, Mary. David, is it possible to reach out to the land bank to determine if that's a feasible option?
Yes, I will reach out. I'll send an email right now to Rachel and Jesse, just to make sure. I don't believe there'll be any problem with that, but I'll email them right now.
Charlie, if you have an extra car that you would like to park in my extra parking place, you might not be able to get it for a while, but if that would free up a space for somebody to park, you're more than welcome to contact me and we can work out an arrangement.
Thank you.
Because I have plenty of off-street parking.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate that. I thought I did too, but now I don't. If people are coming, if they can't park on the street, but I can call Copley Group to see if they could park in that driveway as well. So.
Okay.
Yes, Addison.
Hi, I'm on 23 Lily, and we don't have sidewalk in front of our house, but we do have lots of curbing, and we have a brick stairway coming up to our fence. What is the minimum width that you're going to need to remove to accommodate all the equipment coming through?
So basically if you have granite curb in front of your house, right? At 23, I think you do, right? So if we don't have to take the granite curbing, we don't take it. The reason on the opposite side, I think you're on, yeah, the odd side. On the opposite side, we have structures that's going to be abutting the curbing, and that's part of the reason the curbing, when you remove the curbing, the sidewalk has to remove, right? Because you can't just remove one without the other. If we don't have to do it, we don't do it, and we don't anticipate going beyond onto the property line. So that's not going to be in the works. We only gonna take anything within the right of way, unless something falls. If it does fall, we'll put it back the same way it was.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. It's Marcia Fader. I'm not on Lily proper. I'm a little farther up the street on Liberty Street. It's a question more about the scope of the work, and I just wondered, since it's such a massive project disrupting the street, whether the work included any storm drainage that would be installed as part of it.
So the storm drainage is in-kind replacement and upgrade. In other words, if you force main and the other utilities, and there is a catch basin that's undersized or not functioning, and we replace it in the same alignment, but we're not doing a full stormwater system upgrade, meaning piping and the connectivity. Just if there is a leaching field and a leaching pit within the alignment, that gets upgraded and replaced, but no further upgrades beyond that.
Yeah,
ACL
like
Yeah, excuse me.
I-
Is he-
I had once heard that the system, at one time, the storm drainage was combined with the sewer system and the older system, and now the code does not allow for that. And I think I'm on a part of the street where there aren't any catch basins, so it was just a question about, that's probably more in the category of upgrading that won't happen. Correct?
Correct.
Any other questions? And by the way, if you think of a question and the presentation is closed, please reach out to the sewer department via email or phone call, and we'll be happy to answer those. But while we're still on today, we can still field a few more questions. Anybody else? Okay. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for attending tonight's session. Like I said, please reach out to the sewer department. If you have any questions, and the engineering team will certainly call you back and get your questions answered. You can always reach out to the construction crew and the resident engineer on site. If it's an emergency for access or package or otherwise, or delivery, that was short notice, and we can ensure that makes its way to your home. As I said at the beginning of this presentation, we taped this presentation, so it will be posted to the town website for the project. So you can go back and take a look at it if you need to, or want to just go through it again. So with that, I'm going to close up the meeting, and thank you for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.